Gary Lyon with his thoughts on Harley Reid and the plethora of attention that has been bestowed on Harley Reid upon his arrival in Perth. It's going to be a fascinating dynamic, this, I think. Of course, this is Duff's Deep Dive. We are brought to you by Isuzu D-MAX. You can live your own way in the Isuzu four-wheel drive D-MAX. I just worry about how it will affect him. I know he can play, and the simple reality of this from a media perspective is that stories about Harley Reid, and I'll guarantee you this is the way the West Australian, and they've been the main ones pushing Harley Reid. He's on the back page. Did he make it on the back page today? I can't remember.
I have to check. Anyone? No one's looking at me yet, so we'll get that checked out.
Yeah, but he's been on the back page most days since his arrival in Perth. It's been, a staggering run. They would have the simple view, I'll guarantee you, that stories about Harley Reid generate more clicks than stories about other people. So therefore, despite the fact he hasn't played a senior game, despite the fact that there are other massive issues that will affect the outcome of West Coast season, probably issues that will affect the outcome of West Coast season to a far greater degree than how Harley Reid goes. So, I mean, my only hope for Harley Reid this year is that he gets through the year, he shows enough for people to be encouraged by his performance, he's healthy at the end of the season and in a position to push onwards and upwards in the pre-season heading into 2025, and then is a bigger, stronger, better athlete leading into 2025. So the main thing I reckon you want, if you're West Coast with Harley Reid, don't get injured. Don't get injured this year. We saw that Campbell Chesser had a couple of setbacks, and we're still wondering, what's going to happen with him. Sort of, what's this? This is his third year in the AFL system. He probably won't be a walk-up start to play in round one. We heard Adam Simpson say that he wants Andrew Gaff on one wing.
Hope so.
So I would hope so, he said. Campbell Chesser's no guarantee to be in the round one team, and probably Campbell Chesser just needs to play somewhere. I get the reasons for the hype, but my hope for Harley Reid is that he gets through and comes out of it in a position to attack 2025 and be bigger and better in 2025.
So Harley's not on the back of the paper today, so tick that one off. But just for context, they're talking after Simo said, hope the state can look after him or, do whatever to make sure he sticks around because they want to keep him forever, sort of thing. And, how does it become a state problem?
Oh, I understand. But
I know where he's coming from, what he's saying, but
you can understand what he means in that, like he's basically urging people to calm the farm, take a chill pill.
When do we start the "What are you doing for Harley Reid" campaign? When does it start though? Like, when can we, you're around the water cooler at work and you just say, what have you done for Harley Reid this week?
Yeah. If I was Adam Simpson, I'd probably saying, can everyone just calm down?
Oh, absolutely.
Look, it's a tough one for West Coast. He's going to, if he plays well, there'll be even more hype.
Yeah.
Harley for the Brownlow, Harley for the MVP, Harley for the Rising Star, Harley for the All-Australian team. There'll be all that stuff going on. And if he plays badly, it'll be, oh, God, what was all the fuss about? Have they got this wrong? Have they got another one wrong at the draft table? Harley draft bust.
Is there a pass mark with Harley? I mean, I guess yours is probably he gets through the season healthy. He's ready for an even bigger 2025.
Look, I've seen enough to think that if he plays, he'll play pretty well.
It's going to be a pass.
So pretty well means that he'll play at least as well as Jason Horne-Francis did in his first season at North Melbourne when he had to play inside mid, very tough role in a struggling team. There were a few knockers, but there was also glimpses of what he might be. Now, clearly he went home and has become a very good player for Port Adelaide, but that's minimum. And, he might play as well as Ashcroft did until he was injured at Brisbane last year, and he might, who knows, if fingers crossed, he plays as well as Nick Dacos, which is setting the bar pretty high. Someone like, say, take Noah Anderson at Gold Coast in his first season. Now, he was the offshoot to Matt Rowell. Matt Rowell was considered the stud, and and Noah Anderson was considered the right-hand man. Noah Anderson has probably had the better career so far, had a really good, solid first season. So if Harley Reid was to have that sort of year at West Coast, I'd be happy.
Yeah. The other half of the discussion with Gary was what Tim Watson had to say, and this is Tim's comments.
It's hard to know whether or not you can prepare somebody for this too, because you get a young kid in, any young kid that you draft, any club that drafted a kid last year, you get them into your football club and you try and prepare them for AFL football. But what they're trying to prepare him for is something that is unique to the West Coast Eagles. And there's not another kid that got drafted last year who's going to be experiencing the same things that Harley Reid is in terms of the attention that's been applied to him. No. I don't know. I've been thinking about, I don't know how you can prepare somebody for that. You can talk to them about it and say, in their pre-discussions, they would have said, oh, look, if we take you, this is what you might expect coming to WA. We only got the 2 teams over there. There's a lot of media attention, particularly on the West Coast Eagles. There's even more attention on you. We've had a very bleak couple of years, as you outlined. We've had no success. There's nothing exciting about us. You will be the most exciting thing that comes to our team, and therefore you're going to be written about and talked about and recognised in the streets, all that type of thing. And you try and prepare somebody for that. It's so foreign.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that.
And, I mean, Gary's point that if he came into a team with some of those West Coast legends and stuff like that, West Coast wouldn't have had access to him. So he's a player like Harley Reid has to come in when your team's at the bottom.
So this is the key. And so for me, the biggest thing for West Coast, and Adam Simpson touched on this yesterday, and it wasn't about whether Andrew Gaff plays, but for me, if Jeremy McGovern plays, if Elliot Yeo plays and can play full-time in the midfield, if Jamie Cripps plays and plays, the best version of Jamie Cripps, like the 5-goal version that won in the game against the Western Bulldogs, Tom Barrass, Tim Kelly, Oscar Allen, Jack Darling, if all these guys play, then West Coast can win 6 to 9 games. And they'll play well if they play. If they're fit and available, these guys will play well because they're good players. So that's going to be the thing. And this is going to be the thing that Simo's going to be able to push his young players into the team around. That's big for them. Otherwise, if it just becomes about how many kicks, marks and handballs Harley Reid got in a 10-goal loss, that'll get tough.
Is there a way that Harley's taking the attention and the pressure for everyone else that maybe was a bit off last year? We know that if those guys come back and they're doing their jobs and they're playing well, that's great. But at the moment, it's all the unknown, it's all the what ifs, it's all the potential. And as much as Harley has been touted as a number 1 draft pick since he was however old, not that gives you any
pre-birth.
Yeah, they said this is the one. Not that gives you any
the chosen one.
That a kid can stand up to the pressure and all that sort of stuff, which for all intents and purposes he has so far. But is he taking the pressure for the rest of the senior group at the moment?
Some good text coming through. How many number 1 drafts picks have ever lived up to the hype? Greg from Les Merton.
Clive did. Yep. Put him down.
It's a good question. You take the Bontempelli draft as a classic example. I think was Deledio was number 1, I think.
Lids.
Often it's that number 3, 4 or 5 pick. Buddy Franklin in his draft, was pick 4 or 5. Matthew Pavlich in his draft was pick 4. Peter Matera in his draft was pick 3 or 4, I think. They ended up being the best players in that.
Paul Hazelby was
picked 2.
Hey, everyone might think that's a joke, but one of my favourite footballers. So, say what you will.
He's a very good player, Hayes.
That's it.
Australian player. Yep, 200-game player.
All right, pretty good. Pretty good for the first deep dive, I think.
All right, thanks to Isuzu Utes, and you can live your own way in the Isuzu D-MAX. That has been the Duff's Deep Dive. It's time to head back to the surface. Ada?